one plant alone could create up to 200 jobs for our people.
Tonight, legal marijuana is just over the horizon, and entrepreneurs of all kinds are lining up to cash in. Meanwhile, up north,
we don't have to pay for shipping. It costs so much to ship stuff up here through mail. So.
Shoppers in Iqaluit are taking advantage of the free shipping offered by some online retailers.
And so with over 3,000 strands of lights, that it makes a great show for people and residents and visitors alike.
And where there is light, there is love. The city of Whitehorse goes all out to bring out the best of the season. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. A Quebec man who says that he's Métis has filed a human rights complaint against the Métis National Council. He says they are discriminating against Métis Quebecers. However, the council says they can't discriminate against something that doesn't exist. Tom Fenario has a story.
Rosh Matt says he is a proud Métis, even though there are many who say he is not.
There always been Métis in Quebec. We always had a Métis culture in Quebec.
According to the Métis National Council, or MNC, there are no Métis in Quebec. So in 2016, Matt filed a human rights complaint alleging that he is being discriminated against.
It's a complete aberration. Quebec is the cradle of the Métis Nation. It is where it all started. And since that time, there always been Métis in the province of Quebec.
Matt isn't the only person from Quebec claiming Métis status. According to Canada's 2016 census, there are over 69,000 self-identifying Métis living in Quebec. Many point to the Sasha's origins in Quebec as proof of their claim. Some say that Michif, the Métis language that has its roots in French and Cree, also comes from Quebec.
We never left the original homeland. That doesn't make us less Métis.
Adam Gaudry is a Métis assistant professor at the University of Alberta. He specializes in Métis history and identity and says there is no such thing as the Quebec Métis Nation.
I've seen no historical evidence that connects us to Quebec in terms of the cultural growth of the Métis Nation. Absolutely, Quebecers came to the West, settled in places like Red River, Lac Sainte Anne, Batoche, but they married into existing Métis communities and they became Métis. They didn't bring that Métis-ness with them.
As president of the Métis National Council, Clément Chartier says that too often people with Indigenous ancestry latch on to the term Métis.
And Métis is such an easy term to use for everyone or anyone who cannot fit into the existing cultural nations that are out there. So to me, it's understandable, but I don't think it's accurate.
But not all Métis agree with the National Council. Robert Doucette is the former president of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. He supports Rosh Matt's claim of Métis status.
This is all part of my effort to try and understand about where Métis people have lived in North America. And, the map that the Métis National Council has right now is totally inadequate and doesn't reflect the historical reality of breadth and scope of the Métis people in North America. It doesn't, and including the Quebec Métis.
For his part, Chartier says he's waiting for the Human Rights Tribunal to rule on the merit of the complaint.
We don't believe the Human Rights Commission has any jurisdiction to deal with who we are.
Matt says he'd rather not have gone the route of filing a human rights complaint, but that the Métis National Council left him no choice.
We're entitled to the same service as other Métis in the country, one way or the other.
Tom Fenario, APTN National News, Montreal.
And we would like to hear what you have to say about this or any other story. Here's how to contact us. Send an email to news@aptn.ca, like our APTN National News Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter @APTN News, or go to our website, aptnnews.ca. As conversations around the upcoming legalization of marijuana continue, Manitoba is preparing to implement its hybrid model for selling pot. The province will handle distribution, but are looking to private retailers to sell it. As Brittany Hobson shows us, some Indigenous groups are hoping to dip their hands into the pot.
Several Indigenous groups in Manitoba are looking to cash in on the recreational pot market when it becomes legal in July 2018. One of those groups is Seven Oaks Cannabis, a Winnipeg-based Métis organization vying to open retail locations across the province. Grant McLeod is Seven Oaks' director. The former lawyer started the company in May after analyzing the different opportunities the recreational cannabis industry could offer.
This is a real opportunity to identify a pool of Métis candidates who are interested not necessarily in cannabis, but certainly cannabis, but in business, in marketing, in sales, in whatever it might be in terms of our whole entire business structure.
In Manitoba, the sale of pot will be handled through private retailers, while the distribution will be handled by the government. In November, they called on interested retailers to put forth proposals. McLeod and his team developed a plan to promote budding relationships between Indigenous groups already working in the field.
We were able to build a network, a retail network, a company for the RFP process that was really homegrown, Winnipeg-based, Manitoba-based, including local retailers who currently exist, who have a reputation in the communities.
The group is looking at 12 retail locations across the province, 5 based in Winnipeg and 7 outside the city. Economic development is the driving force behind a new partnership between 5 Manitoba First Nations and National Access Cannabis, an organization working with medical cannabis producers. Peguis First Nation is one of the communities involved.
One plant alone can create up to 200 jobs for our people.
The groups plan to put forth a proposal to open up shops on reserve land and urban reserve land. Long Plain First Nation Chief Dennis Meaches says the need for economic independence has never been higher, and the pot market can offer that.
It'll go a long way to helping provide sustainable development in the years to come. Our people need to work. We need to lift our people out of poverty.
The province is expected to announce the successful applicants by the end of January. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Time for a quick break, and then we'll look into our biggest story of 2017. Stay with us. Here's a look at Saturday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. Sunny and -11 in Fredericton. Sunny and -22 in LeGrand. -11 for Happy Valley Goose Bay. -10 under sunny skies in Sept-Îles. 21 below in Chibougamau. Warmer in parts of southern Ontario. 6 above in Windsor. +3 in Sarnia. -13 in Sioux Lookout, Kapuskasing, and Big Trout Lake, where snow is on the way. -17 in Norway House and Island Lake on Saturday. Sunny skies and 14 below in Dauphin and Brandon. Plenty of sun in southern Saskatchewan. -11 in Swift Current and in Saskatoon. -24 in Stony Rapids. -22 in Uranium City. Welcome back. Cancelled meetings, resignations, firings, calls for commissioners to step down. It's been a turbulent year for the long-awaited national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. It's our top story of the year and promises to be the issue to watch next year. It's been a tumultuous year for the long-awaited, highly anticipated national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. After hosting a number of advisory meetings, the inquiry announced it would begin hearings in May 2017, but there was growing impatience.
I get that there's a lot of background work that needs to be done, but we still need to, take care of the families out there.
A coalition in Manitoba was already raising concerns over a lack of transparency that was leaving families in the dark. Hearings had not even started, and there were calls for a boycott.
It's the ongoing problems. It's the ongoing presentations of these problematic behaviors, the fact that we have consistently voiced our concerns, and that it's falling on deaf ears.
At the end of May, hearings kicked off in Whitehorse, but shortly after, the resignations started, including one of the 5 commissioners, Marilyn Poitras. That came as a shock. By the end of the year, more than 20 people were no longer working with the National Inquiry. Hearings were also being postponed. But the inquiry pushed on as calls for a reset grew louder. In November, the commissioners released an interim report. It included 10 recommendations, including the creation of a national police task force.
We believe that the appropriate authority to hear this evidence needs to be created immediately. Many families and Indigenous communities do not trust the institutions that are currently in place.
There was talk for the need of an extension to the 2-year mandate, and blame was placed on the government for challenges the inquiry was facing.
We have faced several obstacles from a bureaucratic and procedural and policy perspective in getting our national inquiry up and running and mobilized all across Canada. We continue pretty much daily to speak to government about new options, new ways of doing things.
Things came to a head in December at the AFN Special Assembly.
And you're standing here giving us a report, hoping that we'll support an extension of the work that we don't understand and that doesn't belong to you. We need to see you resign, unfortunately, and I know that more women believe that all of you should resign. But for me personally, it's you. We saw a commission that is falling apart and is not doing the work that the women and children and men fought for. And I'm sorry to say that, but I think you have to go.
No request for an extension ever came. The inquiry is expected to resume hearings in Yellowknife on January 23rd. And word now that the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls will miss its own deadline to ask the federal government for an extension. Kathleen Martins has reported extensively on the inquiry, and she joins us now to discuss this latest misstep. Kathleen, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. What can you tell us about the plans for an extension to the inquiry?
Well, the Chief Commissioner, Marion Bullard, told us, APTN News, on December 8th, a couple of weeks ago, that she was working on it. It was in draft form, and she was going to submit it before Christmas. And so that was the deadline that she herself put up. And now, according to everybody we've talked to in Ottawa that should get copies of this letter or notice, nobody's received anything today.
And let's have a listen to that clip from Chief Commissioner Marion Bullard as she told APTN earlier this month about the inquiry's plans for an application for an extension.
Yes, the paperwork is done. We just have to fine-tune it. We're getting advice, in process of getting advice on our draft from a variety of sources across Canada. When we're ready, and it will be before Christmas, it's going to be a solid request, because we can't come back to the government in 2 years and say, okay, we need another year, like TRC had to do. We have to do it right from the beginning.
So there's the Commissioner, in her own words, saying before Christmas. That's not going to happen now. The House of Commons won't sit for about a month now. What's the next steps here?
Well, you know, I'd like to know why they missed the deadline today, but a couple of emails sent today and through the week to the inquiry staff not returned, so not sure if they're going to get it this weekend, next week. It's got to go to the PCO, the PMO, and then of course to the Minister's office. I'm not sure about how soon then the Minister can say okay. She's been really receptive to it. I would think families are not going to be really excited to hear this, that a deadline was missed. You know, it already affects already low credibility, and now another, like you say, a misstep.
As we know, the holidays can be a difficult time for some of these families, and we see the National Inquiries taking the week off, or a little over a week, actually. I understand you've spoken with one of the families about these latest developments, so what are you hearing there?
That's right, yeah. So we wanted to check in with families about them missing the deadline to ask for an extension. Somebody I spoke to, I just got off the phone with, said that they understand that the deadline was missed. They're okay with that. They say, it's a time to be with your families. They didn't hold any ill will about it. They said it's understandable. They feel the people are under a lot of pressure. They were actually very charitable about it. So that might be good news for the commissioner, who I know a lot of people want her to resign, here's a family member who supports her, says, hey, I understand you missed the deadline. Hopefully you have a good reason, but just take the time, be with your family. You know, I asked about what do you think about the offices being closed, because they're closed for a week now. Same kind of charitable reaction, saying we're okay, I'm okay with it.
Kathleen, appreciate you joining us here to bring us up to speed on this all.
Sure.
And you can find more on that story on our website. Indigenous people make up nearly 30% of inmates in Canadian jails, but only 5% of the total population. Here's a preview now of Cullen Crozier's Investigates episode, Crime and Injustice.
Prisons are warehouses. It's an assimilation process for Indigenous folks, I see. It seems to be this vicious cycle that men and women can't seem to escape.
It's a story that Dan Parlow knows all too well. At 52, he has spent more than half his life, over 30 years, behind bars.
I was a lost individual, you know, and full a lot of pain, you know, and feeling like I had no connection to this world, and you know, and live that way, you know, and I honestly didn't think I'd live to see, you know, 25, you know, but my life was, you know, was in turmoil.
Parlow is a Anishinaabe and a victim of the 60s scoop. He was taken off his home reserve and away from his family at 3 months old. He first went to jail at only 16.
There was no Young Offenders Act back then, so you were a 16-year-old boy going to a man's prison. It was traumatizing.
And he's not alone. Indigenous people under federal sentence tend to be younger, less educated, and more likely to present a history of substance abuse, addictions, and mental health issues. In Canada, Indigenous youth between the ages of 12 and 17 are incarcerated at a rate 6 times greater than non-Indigenous offenders.
And you can watch the rest of Crime and Injustice right after the APTN National News. Time for another quick break and then some festive stories ahead of the Christmas holidays. Stick around. Here's the rest of Saturday's weather forecast. Picking back up in northern Alberta, -9 in Peace River, Grand Prairie, and Fort McMurray, 10 below in Red Deer, Medicine Hat, and Lethbridge. Over to the west coast, +5 in Tofino and Victoria, -13 in Smithers, sunny, and 18 below in Dease Lake. Chilly right across Yukon with the exception of Rock River with a high of -5. Mild temps in parts of NWT, -2 in Wrigley and Norman Wells, -23 under the sun in Sax Harbor, -3 in snow in Tuktoyaktuk. Frigid temps return in Nunavut, -30 in Repulse Bay, -33 in Cambridge Bay, -26 in Iqaluit on Saturday, 34 below in Joe Haven. Welcome back. More and more Canadians are switching from hitting the malls to shopping online. So what does that mean for Canada's most remote regions? Online shopping might be the thing that levels the playing field. Here's Kent Driscoll with more.
In Iqaluit, Nunavut, this is the biggest mall. The store with the best variety and the place with the biggest deals. The post office. Online shopping is up 17% a year in Nunavut, and has been every year since 2012, according to Canada Post. These Iqaluit residents agree. They've been doing more online shopping this year.
Yeah, just because of the Christmas holidays, or Christmas presents. It's because of the free shipping. That's why, like, we don't have to pay for shipping. It costs so much to ship stuff up here through mail, so take advantage of the free shipping.
Yeah, we've definitely spent a little bit more with Amazon with the free shipping. That's definitely better bang for the buck.
Iqaluit is one of the few places in Nunavut that qualifies for free shipping with many retailers. More remote communities pay the full cost of shipping, around $3 a pound, and that's without having it shipped express. Nunavut has the highest cost of living in Canada. And because we are remote, we don't have the retail stores many of you do. What we wanted to know, can online shopping help narrow the gap between southern deals and expensive northern reality?
I think it helps because when you order from like Amazon or something, it's cheaper, and with the freight, it's still cheaper when it gets up here than buying from the local store.
Depends on what kind of goods remain free shipping, I would say, and right now without food on that list, it's pretty tough. So, yeah, I don't know.
One thing is certain, the post office in Iqaluit is overflowing with Christmas gifts. They had to open this second location to keep up with the demand and expand their hours. It might not fix Nunavut's high cost of living, but it has been narrowing the gap. Canada Post has no plans to expand their Iqaluit post office. But if more and more of the things we buy are going to come through the mail, they may have to reconsider soon. Because Nunavut residents will take every deal we can get. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
At this time of year, the days are short in the north, and to brighten up those dark days, the city of Whitehorse is lighting the mood by installing thousands of sparkly lights for the season. Whitehorse has gone all out in setting the Christmas spirit with thousands of Christmas lights shining throughout Yukon's capital city. From the historic SS Klondike to the city's Christmas tree, the crowning jewel of Main Street, glowing with 20,000 lights.
It's really brought forward to try to bring some brightness to people's lives over the winter months, and for that reason we now call them winter lights instead of just the Christmas lights. And so with over 3,000 strands of lights, that it makes a great show for people and residents and visitors alike. And these lights, if you were to put them together, it would amount to about 20 kilometers of lights.
That's a lot of lights. The Idle No More round dance that took place yesterday in downtown Toronto ended with a flash mob. The group gathered in Eaton Centre near the Christmas tree, sang a few songs, and of course danced. Here are some highlights.
The movement has been the spirit of our people and the spirit of resistance to, protect the land, to protect the water, to have the treaty's original intent, honored.
Use your voice, go out there, make something happen. You guys are the future generations.
Idle no more. Do not idle no more. Do something. Do the footwork. Get out there and find your culture. Learn your culture. Reach out to people that are doing the same work that you're doing, and gather together and empower each other all the time.
Quite a great turnout. That is your APTN National News for this Friday. Investigates is up next. And a very Merry Christmas to all our viewers from your family here at APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. Have a great night.